And welcome back to the 7 Series here at Snetterton. It's the final race in the 1600s. As you can see behind me, all the cars on the grid now, almost ready to go. Got to give a big shout out to all the female marshals here. They've been chatting to me. Great thing about Snetterton, a very big female team of marshals. And they say if you want to get involved, let them know. You can find all the information online. But it's been a very exciting day so far. A lot of controversy so far. Obviously, this is the final race, so the top 10 is reversed here to give some of those maybe in the midfield a bit of a chance to get up ahead. It's going to be very, very interesting. I think we probably need to get off the track now, so I will hand over to your commentator, Mark Werrell.
Thanks a lot, John. Yes, marshals.co.uk. Marshals.co.uk is where you need to go if you want any details on how you can become one of our volunteer marshals. So yeah, the Toyo tyres.
This is the sort of racing series as well that if you are in the wrong position through qualifying or however it may be, and the track splits by one car in front of you battling too wide and not quite making the move, it does make life exponentially harder. You can effectively resign yourself to a battle in the midfield when you may have the pace here today to go out there and fight the victory. And that's what makes the top 10 reverse grid so exciting. The true pain is sometimes hard in terms of how you put it all together. So I think it's a very, very good phase of the race, and I'm important phase overall to say that this might not go the way of old and
of them. They're all lumped into the 1600cc category. Very, very competitive category. 50 points for the race win, 47 for second, 45 for third, and so on it diminishes. There's an extra point for fastest lap in the race, and you do count the total of all of the championship rounds, less your worst three, so you do drop your worst three scores. And with that win for Gary Smith earlier on, that means that he's extending his championship lead. He came into this weekend leading by 20 points. He had extended it to 26 by close of play yesterday, but further extended it with that race win again today, and he set the fastest lap as well. So he's eking out the gap and is looking to try and see if he can follow in the footsteps of the winners from the previous years, all of whom the last two championship seasons have gone on to race in 40Rs. So we'll see the two champions from 1600s from 2021 and 2020 out in the 420 race later on today. So colours then, it's Dayglow green for Tim Child that sits on the front row of the grid. John Chevrolet that sits alongside. It's silver with sort of a burgundy and a gold flash down the centre of it. Row 2 of the grid, it's largely black and white for Andrea Bonani. Alongside him is the red and black car of Stuart Bell. And row 3 of the grid, it's sort of blue and green for Caroline Everett. She lines up alongside the dark blue car with its Dayglow flashes in the hands of Jeff Newman. So that gives you the colours on the first few rows of the grid at least. Top 10 reversed, so watch out for the likes of Gary Smith, Luke Roswell, David Yates, Michael O'Reilly looking to work their way up from the reversed grid positions, but it's all rather tight, and it's a very, very competitive class, the Toyo Tyres Sevens race series here at Snetterton. So safety car peels its way right and into the pit lane. We're about to get racing underway for the final time for this batch of cars today. Red lights are on the gantry, and when they flash out, we'll be away for 20 minutes of racing. Lights go out now, and it looks as though both front row men match each other for pace, but Tim Child has the all-important inside inside line when they get towards Ritchie's corner, but can John Chevrolet brave it out around the outside line? He sweeps his way through, and already Tim Child has been picked off by a couple of cars, because not only John Chevrolet went through, but the red car of Stuart Bell was also able to make inroads there and gain ground. So they will be the cars that are first and second respectively as they head in towards the Wilson hairpin for the first time. And I think it is up to third. That looks like it's David Yates, is it, that's up into third position by the look of things. So already those that did well earlier on starting to thread their way through the order. Caroline Everett is there in fourth position. And I think in fifth place, that looked like Jeff Newman that was there in fifth place, because his car had got the Dayglow yellow rollover hoop that was there in fifth position. Up towards the braking area for Agostini for the first time. The pole sitter Tim Child already dropping down to something like eighth position by the time they pitch the car in towards the left-hander at Agostini for the first time. He also runs really wide on the exit of the corner, does Tim Child. So by the end of this lap, he's probably going to be back down to sort of something like 10th position where he finished the race from earlier on. But for the lead of the race, John Chevrolet from the outside of the front row of the grid, looking to see what he might be able to do. He finished 9th in yesterday's race. He repeated that feat in the race earlier on today, did John Chevrolet. And let's see whether he can start to try and build any sort of advantage. It's so difficult in these cars. Pretty much identical specification. They all weigh the same minimum weight, which depending on when the car was built is somewhere between 605 and 615 kilos. So it's impossible to try and break away. And as we saw over the course of the first two races, nobody has an advantage. Chevrolet running a little bit wide there, though, in the lead of the race. That's not going to aid his cause, because he will want to try and get in a solid first lap. There goes the number 13 car. That's Michael O'Reilly. He's had a couple of busy races so far. He hasn't picked his way past the pole sitter Tim Child just as yet. But they'll be coming up towards the conclusion of the first lap of the race very shortly. Onto the brakes, in towards the left-hander at Murray's, with John Chevrolet leading the way as they come out of the final corner. But of course they're all going to gang up on him now, because they're all getting that all-important slipstream, and already it looked as though David Yates was drawing himself alongside and has no doubt taken up the lead of the race. Yet through goes David Yates. He now leads the way as they head round through Ritchie's corner for the first time. Wheel to wheel there. That is the number 13 car of Michael O'Reilly going wheel to wheel with Andrea Bonani. But David Yates leads the race. Who's up into second? It's the winner, it's the championship leader. Gary Smith is now up into second position by the look of things. He was, I think, sixth as he came over the start-finish line. So it certainly looked like Gary Smith's car. So they thread their way out of Palmer and start to work their way down the short straight that brings them up towards Agostini. It's David Yates that's leading the way. Caroline Everett's doing a good job as well. She sits there in third place at the moment, the blue car. Then it's Stuart Bell. Then it looks as though it's Luke Roswell running wheel to wheel with somebody else and almost running out of room there as he dipped a couple of wheels just onto the grass on the exit of Agostini. But with our race leader being David Yates, driver who so far this weekend has claimed a win and a third place. He's out front early on and looking to see what he might be able to do. John Chevrolet there still in second place. Then it's Caroline Everett in third position. So where have we been able to usher Gary Smith up to? I thought that was his car in second, and I thought it was strange. Now he's still there in sixth place by the look of things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, something like sixth place as they come down the Bentley straight and underneath the vehicle bridge and in towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson for what will be the second time of asking the extra championship point. They're going to be down into the 2-minute 8s, 2-minute 9s, I would have thought, would be a fastest lap of the race. We've had earlier on today a 2-minute 7.7 from Gary Smith was the fastest lap of the race. That scooped up the extra championship point. But as they come around towards the end of the conclusion of the second lap of the race, it is John Chevrolet who's having to stick his elbows out a bit in second place, because we've got Caroline Everett looking to try and work her way through, and then the next of the cars as well. So over the start finish line they all go. David Yates looking to try and get away in the lead of the race. John Chevrolet, Caroline Everett, Luke Roswell there, and by the look of things Caroline Everett's now through into second place. The blue and green car sneaking her way through on the way in towards Ritchie's corner. She's up into second, but Luke Roswell dives down the inside and takes the place away. So it's briefly held second place for Caroline Everett. She's down to third as Luke Roswell squeezes his way through. Luke's finished second in both of the races they've had so far this weekend. It's Gary Smith that's there in fourth place, the championship leader. Who's there in fifth? It's John Chevrolet in fifth, but he's under attack from Stuart Bell. Stuart Bell, I think, was going to try round the outside, but it's not quite going to work as they head round through Agostini. Now, David Yates has done a good job of leading the last lap and a bit. Fastest lap of the race so far on the first flying lap has gone the way of Luke Rosewell in the fourth place car. In fact, now by the look of things, up into second, he was fourth as he came over the start-finish line, but 2 minutes 10.355. Good lap from him. A couple of place gains so far on this lap, and he's now up into second place, and he's hunting down the race leader and bringing with him Caroline Everett still. So Caroline Everett is not being dropped at all as yet. Caroline hasn't finished on the podium as yet so far this season. She's been close, she's been knocking on the door, but I think seventh is the best that she's finished so far on a couple of occasions, but she's right up there in the mix here. And is going into second place by the look of things, is she? She's up the inside and should be able to steal the place away from David Yates, who might just get pushed out wide a little bit. And Luke Rosewell, in the meantime, picks up the lead of the race. Now, Caroline Everett can't quite make it. The number 9 car stays there in third place, at least for the moment. The difficult thing is that she wants to attack. She's got to defend as well, because, as is ever the case, there's just no respite at all. You're either in full attack mode or full defence mode, but there's always somebody to race with in the Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series. Over the start-finish line, they'll thread their way, starting to break away into 2 batches of 3 for the moment. Luke Rosewell, David Yates and Caroline Everett. Then a slight gap before we get Gary Smith, John Chevrolet, and then the red car with its black flashes in the hands of Stuart Bell. So that's sort of the 2 trios that we've got. And then we've got, after that, Jeff Newman there in 7th place, and 8th place at the moment will be Cameron Cooper over the start-finish line, with Michael O'Reilly and Tim Child, the pole sitter, back down to 10th now. So up towards Palmer. Luke Rosewell leading the way. There is number 22, the championship leader, Gary Smith. Claimed his 4th win of the championship season earlier on today. And in fact, such has been the consistency, really, of Gary Smith. Locked brakes further back, but the consistency of Gary Smith, he's either finished first or second or third in every race so far this season. His worst result came yesterday when he was third. Other than that, he's been second or onto the top step of the podium in all of the races so far in the 2022 Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series. Now, Luke Rosewell posted, the race leader, another new fastest lap of the race last time through, 2 minutes 9.937. So the tyres now fully up to temperature as they're on their 4th lap of the race. It's now the slipstreams that are starting to occur, and you can see Luke Rosewell is moving around to try and break the toe on David Yates, but David Yates is going to get the toe. He's going to get the lead of the race. He sneaks up the inside as they head in towards Brundle and picks up the lead of the race again. So David Yates, Luke Rosewell, Gary Smith, Caroline Everett, John Chevrolet still hanging on well as well, I've got to say, the car that started on the front row of the grid. There's Michael O'Reilly. He's fighting away with Cameron Cooper's car that lies just ahead, so they'll be fighting over what is 8th and 9th positions. So up towards Murray's, another lap about to be completed. They're going to start lap number 5 this time through. There's 11 minutes left, just over, of the race still to go. And we're 3 wide this time coming over the start-finish line, because Gary Smith, Luke Rosewell and David Yates were all together over the start-finish line. But Luke Rosewell is just going to hang on to the lead for the moment, with Gary Smith now up into 2nd position at the wheel of the 22 car. And it was another new fastest lap of the race that time through as well for Luke Rosewell. 2 minutes 9.937. Now Gary Smith wheel to wheel with David Yates. That's on the exit of Wilson. David Yates will have the inside line when they get up towards Palmer, so should hang on to 2nd place. So he does indeed hang on to 2nd. Gary Smith settles into 3rd. Caroline Everett, John Chevrolet. Then it's going to be the car of Stuart Bell, followed by, thereafter, the car of Jeff Newman. The Dayglow roll hoop to his car at the tail end of this lead train of 6 cars again. It was a lead train of 6 earlier on, wasn't it? But not necessarily including the likes of Caroline Everett and John Chevrolet, but the reverse grid has brought them into that mix, and others that were in that lead group earlier on, the likes of Michael O'Reilly, down in 9th in this one with the reverse grid race. He's just not made the inroads that others have done. So out of the right-hander at Williams onto the Bentley straight. Caroline Everett looking to try and get in the slipstream and haul herself back into the podium places. There they go, weaving from side to side to try and break the toe, the slipstreaming toe of the car behind. But nothing changes this time as they come down the Bentley straight. So the top 6 remain as they were, with still Luke Rosewell out there. Gary Smith out there and leading the way. There's the Dayglow green car. That's Tim Child, who started from pole position. He's fallen behind on this lap. Chris Savage, I think, that's ahead of him. So he really is dropping down through the order now. And off. Who's that that's having off? That's number 99. That's Cameron Cooper that's off. So Cameron was running in 8th position. He's had a bit of a moment coming round through Corham and has lost the tail end of the number 99 car on the way in towards Murray's on the brakes. So over the start-finish line, Luke Rosewell leads the way. Gary Smith in 2nd place, followed shortly thereafter by David Yates, who's there in 3rd place. Caroline Everett, John Cheverill, Stuart Bell, then Jeff Newman, all still together, the lead 6. And we are now on to what will be ideally half-distance lap, really. So 5 laps completed, 5 to go if we don't go safety car, because we've got 8.5 minutes remaining. And Luke Rosewell, that time, another new fastest lap of the race. What's that, 3-4 consecutive laps now? He's gone quicker. 2 minutes 9.807 from him, 2 minutes 9.807. That's still about a second, 1.1 seconds slower than they managed earlier on today. Big snatch break from Gary Smith in 2nd position. That's just as he was starting to turn into the corner. The wheel unloaded, of course, which means that there's not as much weight on that corner, so it's easier for that wheel to snatch. No harm done, didn't lose any time. And from being a train of 6 cars, the lead pair are just starting to edge away very slightly from the car that's there in 3rd place, which is David Yates. And David Yates is also making inroads into Caroline Everett. So down the Bentley straight, they'll head underneath the vehicle bridge, and then we'll see as to what they do when they reappear back into view. So round through towards the conclusion of the lap, they will make their way, and then from there over the start finish line very shortly to chalk lap number 6 into the book. So really 3 for the lead, and they're not exactly close thereafter, so it is 3 for the lead and then 4 remaining thereafter. So are we going to see any further improvements in terms of the order when they come over the start-finish line this time through? It is Caroline Everett that's there in 4th position. She's under pressure from John Cheverill, who jinks out from behind to try and squeeze her way through. But for the lead of the race, up towards Ritchie's corner, and it's David Yates now that picks up the lead of the race. Gary Smith in 2nd place, but I think Luke Rosewell is going to pick him off on the exit of Ritchie's corner. John Cheverill runs wide and just raises the dust a little bit, so that might mean he loses 4th place if he's not careful. David Yates leading. It's Luke Rosewell in 2nd position, followed by Gary Smith, the championship leader and race winner from earlier on today. Those top 3 have broken away ever more from the 4th place car, which is still Caroline Everett sitting there in 4th position now. She picked off John Cheverill, and as a result of the rally crossing moment for John Cheverill, I think the red car with its black flashes, Stuart Bell also snuck through as well. But it's 3 for the lead and 4 fighting thereafter. It's 6 minutes remaining, and are we going to have 3 different winners out of the 3 races in the Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series 1600s? We'll have to wait and see. It's on the infield section of the circuit currently, and will then work their way back up towards the next little twists and turns. Clock continuing to tick, showing that there are 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock, and that is all we've got left to go. So down the Bentley straight. Again, you can see that weaving from side to side as Luke Rosewell tries to break the toe on David Yates. That's behind. David Yates jinks out from behind the slipstream, but I think that's more than anything just to stop the rate of gain. He's content to stay in 2nd place for the moment. Equally as much in 3rd place, looking keen just to stay there, is Gary Smith. And then as they start to head round towards the conclusion of the lap again, we'll have to see as to what's going on thereafter. So up towards the conclusion of the lap again. And then as they head over the start-finish line, 5 minutes to go. And what are we going to see? Is it Luke Rosewell that's going to maybe have to look to try and hang on to this lead of the race? So over the start-finish line now go. David Yates looking to try and draw himself alongside. And Gary Smith also looking to see what he might be able to do. Luke Rosewell goes from first to second to third. David Yates picks up the lead of the race. And round through Ritchie's with 4.5 minutes remaining. Up towards the braking area for Wilson. 4 minutes remaining. David Yates, Luke Rosewell, Gary Smith, all still busy working together, squabbling for the lead of the race. Caroline Everett not too far away, but she's busy squabbling away with Stuart Bell. John Chevrolet's in the mix as well, followed by Jeff Newman. And then, as they head down towards the bottom section of the circuit, apologies, ladies and gentlemen, a few technical issues at this end with regards to imagery, but for the squabble that's going on, it certainly looks as though David Yates, Luke Rosewell, and the car that leads at the moment, which is going to be the car of David Yates, are all there. But Caroline Everett's made really good inroads over the course of the last lap or so. She's really worked her way up onto the coattails of those ahead. So from it being 3 for the lead of the race, it's now 4 for the lead of the race. We've got 3.5 minutes of this session still to go. And, well, David Yates is trying to wiggle his way around to try and break the toe on those behind. I'd say watch out for the moment for the car that's there in 4th place. The blue car with its green flashes to it. Caroline Everett, she's worked hard to catch the trio ahead. Now, she's managed to fully catch them. There's still enough of a gap between this leading quartet of cars and those behind so that they can afford to squabble maybe over the course of what will be the penultimate lap and the final lap thereafter, because there's time on the clock for 2 more laps when they come over the start-finish line. But it's David Yates that's out front. It is going to be Gary Smith that's there in 2nd place, the championship leader. Luke Rosewell there in 3rd place. Luke's finished in runners-up spot in the 2 previous races so far this weekend, so he'd be keen to cap off his weekend with a race win here at Snetterton. I think it'll be Gary Smith that's going to now lead as they head up towards Ritchie's this time through. He picked up the toe from David Yates. Can Luke Rosewell follow through? No, not quite. Wheel to wheel as they head round through the right-hander. Luke Rosewell can't quite make it stick for the moment, but if he can get a good exit coming out of Ritchie's, he's got the all-important inside line when they head down in towards the braking area for Wilson. So Gary Smith with his nose ahead. David Yates brakes as late as he can, leaves enough room up the inside for Luke Rosewell, but Luke can't quite capitalise on it, has to slot himself back through into 3rd. Caroline Everett is still sniffing around as she's there in 4th position. Off onto the grass and rejoining by the look of things. I'm not quite sure whether that was Chris Savage maybe that rejoined. Couldn't quite tell from that angle, but for the lead of the race on the penultimate lap, they are wheel to wheel heading in towards the braking area for Agostini. Gary Smith leads. David Yates trying around the outside at Agostini. Gary Smith leaves him room, doesn't push him too wide. Fair and sensible driving by both. Up towards the left-hander at Hamilton. And Gary Smith finally is able to retake for the moment the lead of the race. But look how close it is. David Yates right behind him. Luke Rosewell not far away. Then the blue and green car in the hands of Caroline Everett, who is working hard here. Say she's not had a podium so far this season. She's not even had a top 6 so far this season, Caroline. So she's really finishing off the weekend with a very, very strong performance indeed, and would love to try and get herself into the podium spots for the first time this season. We are nose to tail and wheel to wheel heading down the Bentley Straight. It's going to be David Yates that's just in the lead of the race. Luke Rosewell is in 2nd place. Gary Smith in 3rd. Caroline Everett in 4th. They'll be heading on to the final lap of the race this time through. Luke Rosewell snaps across the nose of Gary Smith, and it's just allowed David Yates to breathe a slight sigh of relief for the moment, because he's got a little bit of daylight between himself and the chasing pack. Not much, maybe 2 or 3 Caterham lengths, but that's about all, and that will concertina up, of course, as they head it into the braking area from Murray's this time through. So 30 seconds remain onto the last lap of the race, the last racing lap this weekend for the Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series 1600cc cars. And now in full attack mode by the look of things this time is Gary Smith, looking to try and sneak up the inside of Luke Rosewell as they went up towards Ritchie's corner. Can he make it stick? No, because Luke Rosewell picks up the lead of the race from David Yates, who was leading as they came over the start-finish line. So Rosewell leads as they head on to the final lap of the race. David Yates, can he get up the inside? No, he's just too far away as they head in towards the braking area for Wilson. So it's Rosewell from Yates, Gary Smith from the car of Caroline Everett, and then up towards Palmer. As ever is the case, the Bentley Straight might sort out what's going on, but the charge to the line is definitely going to do it. You bear in mind, we've had 2 races so far, and if you add up the cumulative gap between first and second in both of those races, you're still only at less than quarter of a second. If you add the winning margin from both of the previous races, in fact the first race of the weekend it was 49 thousandths, it was less than 2/10 earlier on that separated first from second, so it's going to be a close run to the checkered flag, this one, but the run down the Bentley Straight could tell it, or certainly I suspect the run to the checkered flag out of Murray's is going to decide who's going to pick up the spoils in the final race of the weekend. So Luke Rosewell leads the way. He's had 2 second place finishes so far. He's not had a win as yet this weekend or this season. Is it going to be his opportunity to try and steal the win? Look at him weaving from side to side, anything to try and break the toe on David Yates, who is sitting firmly on his bumper and has fully picked up the toe and should be able to sneak his way through on the run in towards Brundle and Nelson. But Luke Rosewell braves it out round the outside at Brundle, gives him the inside for Nelson. So it's still Luke Rosewell leading the way. David Yates, Gary Smith, the championship leader, isn't going to be able to do anything about improving from third, at least for the moment. And Caroline Everett on for her best result of the season either way, but would love it to be a podium as they come round through Coreham for the final time and in towards the braking area for Murray's. It is Luke Rosewell that leads the way. It is David Yates that's there in second position, and as they accelerate their way towards the checkered flag, has David Yates got anything left? Is he going to pick up enough of a toe from Luke Rosewell so as to try and claim the win? Rosewell moves from side to side to try and block the toe, and on the run to the checkered flag it looks as though David Yates just had his nose ahead, and it is confirmed that David Yates did just about enough. He wins by 36 thousandths of a second from Luke Rosewell, who, rather frustratingly, I would have thought, he'll have enjoyed that race, a big smile on his face, but he's runner-up yet again, I'm afraid. So David Yates claims the win, Luke Rosewell in second position, and it will be the car of Gary Smith in third place, with Caroline Everett in fourth position, John Chevrolet in fifth, and it looks as though it's going to be Jeff Newman that completes the top 6 in the end. So that was the way that they finished this one. There were a couple of cars that picked up some time penalties for track limits, I'm afraid, not least of which was Stuart Bell, who had a good weekend, but he picks up a 5-second penalty for track limits, which on corrected times drops him down into 8th position. But it is that man there which will be enormously pleased, which is David Yates, who has picked up the win. So David Yates making his way in towards the Parc Fermé area, where we may be able to grab a very quick word with our final race winner, and that's the second win this weekend for David Yates. He'll be very, very pleased indeed with the way things have gone for him this weekend. A good haul of championship points, what with 2 wins and a third place. But let's confirm the results. David Yates claims the win from the car of Luke Rosewell, who finished in second place, and it was Gary Smith in third. Caroline Everett was there in fourth place, with John Chevrolet in fifth place, and Jeff Newman completes the top 6 ahead of Michael O'Reilly. Stuart Bell, who drops to 8th on corrected times, followed by Andrea Bonani, and it was Tim Child who finished in 10th position. 11th place goes the way of Simon Sharrock, ahead of 8th position, which is Andy Ebden, and then it was Cameron Cooper who finished 13th despite the spin. Scott Parker was there in 14th, 15th was Colin Loughlin, and then in 16th position it was John Styring, ahead of the car of Greg Hyatt, who finished in 17th place. 18th place went the way of Paul Wells. 19th place was the car of Ben Roswell, and completing the top 20, at least to give you that, was car number 27, Chris Savage, who finished in 20th, and Dave Antrobus was the last of the cars home. So, great race, final race from the Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series. They will pack things away here from Snetterton, but before they do that, let's head you downstairs to John, who's going to chat to the drivers.
Another very exciting race there. We're here in Parc Fermé. We're going to try and grab a word with some of the drivers. Let's have a little walk up here. We're gonna come along. I'll let you get undressed.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's quite hard work, and you know it's been cold 1 minute, it's been warm the next minute. quite a feisty finish there.
Yes. I was getting a little bit worried how much Luke was going to leave me, and obviously a little bit of grass, but yeah, got it in the end.
A very successful weekend then.
Yeah. So 2 wins and a P3. So yeah, good weekend.
Can't go wrong with that at all. We'll let you. I mean, if you want to derobe any more, you're welcome to, but I don't want to see it. Thank you very much. Let's move forward. Ben, my cameraman here, is expert in feeding his way through cars. Close finish there.
Yeah, again, replay yesterday, so exactly the same.
Yeah. So that's good because it means that you're absolutely pushing each other to the limit.
Yeah. I think I don't know if there's anything much more in the cars. It's sort of just now racing and the tactics, being in the right position at the right time. And unfortunately today, I wasn't. So
that's all right. How would you rate the weekend as a whole? Now we've got to the end.
I mean, I was leading 5 hits before the line in 2 races, and I've come second 3 times. So. It's good. Championship-wise, it's really good. 3 seconds, can't complain. But when you're that close to the win twice, it's a bit gutting.
Can't help but leave you a little bit disappointed. But, I mean, congratulations. Still some very strong finishes. All right, nice one. Let's see if we can find our third-place driver. Looks like he's sharing the water around here. Guys, can I interrupt the celebrations of the water? I just want to get your thoughts on that race as well. I know you need to rehydrate. That's very important in motorsports. Yeah, it was a feisty finish there at the top.
I couldn't get out of the end of the last corner, so onto the straight. So I was catching them all the way up the back, but couldn't do a lot. So I was watching and hoping they would knock each other off, but they didn't.
I mean, that's what you want to do. Yeah, that's what they do in. I think that's what they do in Formula One quite a lot, isn't it? They knock each other off because their egos get too big. But yeah,
they wanted to win. So yeah, I think. Yeah, you're always third place, you're always going to be third, but second you generally get it across the line, don't you? So, no, it's a good hard race, and it was really good fun.
But a decent weekend.
Yeah, brilliant, amazing, really enjoyed it.
I'm going to let you celebrate with those 2 bottles of water. Congratulations. Well, we do have one more race in the 7 Series coming up. It's a little bit later on, around about 5:30, but as we've seen with some of these races this weekend, it can go a little bit early, so make sure you keep your eyes across everything, and we'll bring you that final race. A little bit later, 5:30 is the scheduled start time for the last race of the weekend in the 7 Series.
Can you all go to the podium, please?